Hey guys, it's me again. It's day 4 of our remote teaching, and today we're going to move it up a notch about with evaluating piecewise functions. So if you wouldn't mind taking out the packet from Friday, which was it said on the top, I guess, aim what are piecewise functions. We're going to turn to page 7, and we're going to look at that page. And this is all about evaluating piecewise functions. So really it's the same thing as step functions. You just need to know what interval you're looking at to find the function you're going to use to evaluate it. So we're going to do the regions question on page 7 together, and then you guys are going to practice some on your own. Okay? So on page 7, it says, now that we can graph piecewise function, let's evaluate. Example, the equation to determine the weekly earnings of an employee at the hamburger shop is given by W of X, where X is the number of hours worked. And it comes up with this crazy piecewise function. And it says 10x, and then this says in the interval 0 to 40. And then this one says 15 times x minus 40 plus 400 when x is greater than 40. So remember, x is the number of hours worked. So between 0 and 40 hours worked, we're going to look at this function. And anything over 40 hours worked, we're going to look at this function. So let's look at the problem below. It says determine the salary in dollars for an employee who works 52 hours. So we're really looking for 52. Where does 52 fall? Well, since it's the number of hours, does it fall between 0 and 40? Or is it greater than 40? Obviously, it's greater than 40, so we're going to have to use the function next to it. 15 times x minus 40 plus 400. So all we have to do now is just plug in 52 for x and evaluate in your calculator. So pause it if you do that. And you should have gotten 580. Okay? So then we're going to go into the next part where it said determine the salary in dollars for employee who works 38 hours. Now, again, you need to go up to the intervals and look at it. Is it between 0 and 40 or is it greater than 40? Obviously, it's between 0 and 40, so we're going to use the 10x function. So we'll replace the x with 38, evaluate it. 10 times 38 is 380. So it's really important to figure out which interval they're speaking of and where you have to find the number that it goes in, and then you're going to look to the left to see which function you're going to use to evaluate it. And lastly, it's just now coming up with all the different nuances of the problem. It says, what is the difference? Well, the difference in salary is 580 minus 380 would be $200. And then the last part of this region's question said, determine the number of hours an employee must work in order to earn $445. Explain how you arrived at this answer. So if you want to try it, go for it. If you're not really sure how to do it, watch the video. So we know that 10x is the function we use for 0 to 40 hours. So the smallest possible value for money within that frame would be $0. And the highest possible amount would be 40, would be 10 times 40, which is $400. So obviously it can't be within this function because we need to get to $445. So now we're going to use the next function, and we're going to plug and chug. We're going to start with 41 because that's a number greater than 40. So we'll start with 41. 15 times 41 minus 40 plus 400. If you put in your calculator, you get $415. Nope, we need to get to $445. So you have to keep on plugging and chugging. And then you could plug in 42 and you get $430. And then we plug in 43 and we get $445. So obviously they would need to work 43 hours for a person to make $445. And I found this number by using the piecewise function and evaluating it for a different amount of hours. There are many different ways you could do this. You could always plug each one of these functions into y1, and see the corresponding y value to see which one comes up with 445 as well. You just really need to remember that you're only using the 10x when it's between 0 and 40, and the 15 times